AI is stealing artists' work. AI is causing mass layoffs. AI is displacing people's homes and destroying the environment. So, when is AI supposed to get good? When is it going to open up opportunities to the disadvantaged and replace the monotonous, busy work that humans don't enjoy? Since the answer to this question hasn't been fully addressed by the biggest AI companies yet, myself, along with many others on the internet, see AI as nothing but a soulless leech, designed only to benefit those who are already in positions of power. And I still think that's right for the most part, but to completely dismiss the possibility that AI could provide significant benefits to the world would be to look at this from a prejudiced point of view. In this video, I actually want to criticize myself, to examine my own bias towards hating AI. I want to explore where the current models of AI provide upsides to society and what it would take for us to start seeing way more of those upsides than downsides. Because as things stand, I still believe the balance tilts the other way. And before you immediately dislike this video and run to the comments asking which AI company bought me, firstly, it was Google Gemini. And secondly, just try to exercise open-mindedness as I'm going to try to do in this video. Before we dive in, I have to give a quick shout out to this essay on Substack by the user Tino, which influenced a lot of the points I'm going to talk about in this video. I'll leave a link to them in the description. In order to begin this discussion, I think we have to make a distinction that clarifies what we actually mean when we say artificial intelligence, and that is the distinction between AI and AGI. For the purpose of this video, the definition of AI will be large language model chatbots and generative AI, i.e. the systems designed to produce text, images, audio, or video in response to human prompts. AGI, on the other hand, which is short for Artificial General Intelligence, is the rather ambiguous term to describe a hypothetical advanced type of AI that can understand, learn, and apply knowledge across virtually any intellectual task the way a human can, possibly exceeding human reasoning altogether. AGI is what we imagine when we think of robots helping us with daily tasks like folding laundry or cleaning our house without needing to be programmed or prompted each time. They simply just know what needs to be done. This distinction gives us a deeper insight into why people like me have a bias towards anything related to AI. When people like myself think of AI, we think of the examples that I opened the video with. We tend to only focus on the damage being done because myself, along with others who share these views, see AI as what the Substack author describes as aesthetically unpreferable. AI is a soulless, lifeless technology that strips away the humanistic parts of the answers that it gives us. Offloading difficult reasoning and comprehension work erodes our ability to use those skills in the future, and creating art with it completely bypasses the very reason most of us create art in the first place, to express some incomprehensible, messy feeling, emotion, ecstasy, or depression in a way that makes it lucid, discovering some part of ourselves in the process. It also does not help that when the CEOs of these big AI companies speak, they sometimes say stuff like this.
I think AI will probably, most likely sort of lead to the end of the world, but in the meantime, there will be great companies created with serious machine learning.
Analyze these sentences and my belief becomes clear. AI is not authentic, crafted, or human-made, and even if it has great benefits, if it were to be implemented significantly in everyday life, its mechanistic nature would detract from the quality of life in other meaningful ways. There is a certain aesthetic beauty in human error and imperfection, in the fact that these skills are learned slowly and kept behind the barrier of years of intensive work. But you know what the author of that Substack article calls this? Brazenly classist. Upon initially reading this, I had an internal visceral reaction. My identity was put under threat, but after they explained why, I began to open up to the idea from a certain point of view. The central rebuttal has to do with the scarcity of human attention. Most people who tend to criticize any use of AI are coming from a place where they can afford scarce human attention, like tutors or other services that are usually expensive. The author also brings in medical decision-making into the mix, citing AI as a better-than-average medical decision-maker. This is where I would probably have to disagree. In its current state, AI carries a high risk of leaving someone with an inaccurate diagnosis. That isn't to say chatbots haven't already demonstrated their ability to save lives in moments when human attention was scarce, but I don't think we should treat these rare cases as proof that AI is a reliable source for these issues that require serious medical attention. But let's return to the door that AI opens for tutoring services, because I think this is one of the strongest arguments in favor of using technology like this. The author states, wanting human-only production of goods and the prestige of the unautomated are preferences easiest to maintain from a position of security. After all, the affluent can still purchase the scarce human labor they need regardless of AI or not. This is not entirely baseless. For example, consider someone who wants to learn a foreign language. Maybe they come from a low-income family and can't afford a tutor, and the free resources available online that teach with the depth and structure of a real tutor are limited. In cases like this, AI gives non-native language speakers access to language learning that previously would have been monetarily barricaded from them, and with that new language, it could possibly open up the doors to make more money. Another example I can think of is someone who can't afford a personal trainer. Companies are already paywalling AI running trainers, such as the Runna app, which integrates closely with Strava. Runna coaches users through an AI-assisted training system, and while it's likely more polished than a simple chatbot, providing better visual representations of your data, I'd argue the underlying value isn't all that different. You can get something quite similar by plugging your metrics into a tool like ChatGPT and asking it to generate a running plan tailored to your goals. In fact, I've done exactly this in the past, and it's helped me to run both faster and longer. There's also a rebuttal to the idea that human error is good in every case, because obviously it isn't. This rebuttal isn't directly tied to human attention being scarce or questions of equity, but I want to bring it up because it's a common sentiment that's aimed at people like me who are anti-AI. In fields where reasoning and logical consistency are critical, like law and medicine, human performance can vary wildly, based on something as trivial as how much sleep someone got the night before, whether they're in the middle of a fight with their partner, or even their blood sugar levels. In theory, AI could remain logically consistent regardless of the day or time. To that you might say, well, Cole, as you already said in previous videos, AI has been proven to be biased based on the data it was trained on. And you'd be right, that is the problem right now. That's exactly why I wouldn't encourage its use in medical or legal decision making yet. But even if AI reached the level of neutrality needed to surpass human performance, I'd be willing to bet that people would still oppose it, often on shakier grounds, like the claim that AI is totally unpredictable. We don't know what it will do if we allow it to make these sorts of decisions. You know who's more unpredictable though? Humans. And just because something is detached from human nature doesn't automatically mean that it's worse in every respect. Where we can really see this bias playing out today is with self-driving cars. So I live in Austin, Texas, and Waymos, which are these autonomous self-driving cars, have already begun to roll out across the city, replacing some Uber drivers. Not too long ago, I watched a family cross the street as a Waymo waited, preparing to turn right into their path. When noticing the self-driving car, with its vacant driver's seat and light detection sensor spinning ferociously on top, one of the children stopped and stared with nervous eyes. He put his hand out, palm facing the vehicle, frozen in uncertainty. Finally, when he realized the car was abiding, he started walking again. His brother then turned to him and said, "Those cars are scary." Waymos have been proven to be statistically superior drivers to humans across all categories, especially safety. Maybe if the kid knew this, he would have reacted differently, but I'm willing to bet that even if someone informed him of the lack of danger these cars possess, he would still have a more adverse reaction compared to seeing a human in the driver's seat. I think most of us would feel something similar in this position even as adults, and it exposes a reflexive bias that we have against things we don't fully understand, even when those things have been shown to perform the task better than we do. Even on the creative side of things, which I typically hate seeing AI used for, you can still make a partial case for it. Have you ever used a noise reduction tool in an audio software? Have you ever had an editing software generate subtitles for you? Have you ever removed blemishes from a photo? Those were likely all done using some form of generative AI. In just these cases specifically, I think AI can help us focus more on what I described earlier, the messy process of working through emotions using art, and less on the more technical stuff like adding subtitles to a video, which I'm pretty certain no one likes to do manually. With all that being said, I want to be very clear that I'm only talking about these specific examples, about the narrow potential that AI has to save time and money for more people, theoretically increasing equity. Concerns around bias, safety, misuse, labor displacement, surveillance, cognitive decline, and the erosion of human relationships, as the author lays out, are all very, very good reasons to despise AI. To me, these are serious and tangible problems, and if we examine the primary reasons people currently use AI, we'd likely conclude that it's doing more harm than good. But again, that doesn't mean that these systems should be shut down entirely, at least not if there's still a path forward for them to do what we hope they might do, which is make things more fair and equitable and free up time for us to do more things that humans enjoy doing. Now let's move on to the second reason people like me tend to be biased against AI: politically motivated reasoning. This is a good moment to point out that the Substack essay is specifically critiquing humanities majors in college, which is a group that often skews strongly towards rejecting AI altogether. That's why the author brings up politically motivated reasoning as a source of bias, because humanities majors overwhelmingly lean left on the political spectrum. And since I too lean left, even though so many of you still seem to think otherwise, I figured this would be a great time to uncover another bias of mine and perhaps yours too. The author writes, over the last half-decade or so, in the arts we've been constantly reminded about the ways in which right-wingers relentlessly defend patently false beliefs and viewpoints, and how it's the educated left's role to steer the country back on course. No disagreements from me there, and it's certainly more socially acceptable to be seen as on the left in real life, especially in really densely populated American cities. The author then goes on to argue that false beliefs and misinformation being spread rapidly on the internet is not a one-sided issue. It's due to politically motivated reasoning on both sides. Politically motivated reasoning is what happens when you have an identity to protect, and if your identity is skewed towards one side of the political spectrum, you are far more likely to accept information that reinforces your existing worldview while dismissing or rationalizing away anything that threatens it, even when the evidence is strong. In the case of being against AI in all facets, it tends to be a left-leaning bias, because more generally speaking, those on the left are more anti-tech and anti-corporation than those on the right. Take Twitter, aka X, for example. People share AI memes and AI slop all the time, and it usually gets a laugh. These days it feels like the platform is mainly right-wingers. But Twitter accounts who appear to be left-leaning usually have something negative to say about it. This negativity toward this specific instance of AI then spills over into all AI use cases, because being against big tech, and therefore for the average person, can become so tightly woven into one's identity that we end up dismissing any valid or reasonable argument in favor of AI as nonsense, even when it isn't. As the author puts it, AI has been deemed morally contaminated, a thing we as liberal arts enjoyers are supposed to oppose for cognitive incentives. The questions surrounding AI are therefore not what is true about AI and under what conditions can it be beneficial, but instead, in what ways can I signal that I am one of the good understanders of the true ways in which AI is existentially destructive. I'm willing to bet that a lot of you, including myself, who are anti-AI, are functioning under the latter question more than we'd like to admit. That's all I would like to bring up regarding the Substack essay and the biases it revealed to me, so now I want to revert back to the question that I posed at the beginning of the video that the author of this Substack article posed in a similar way just a few sentences ago. What would it actually take for AI to become good, to produce more benefit than harm, and to take over the tasks most humans don't enjoy so we could spend more of our time doing the things we actually want to do? Well, firstly, we already have some sort of evidence to kind of prove that it's already doing that by shifting the types of roles that these companies are looking to fill. The problem is that these new job openings are not nearly keeping up to pace with how quickly the old jobs are becoming obsolete. The 2025 WEF Future of Job reports estimate that in the next 5 years, 170 million jobs are projected to be created and 92 million jobs to be displaced, resulting in a net gain of 78 million jobs. Right now, we're seeing AI automate a lot of these jobs that people are being displaced from, but the jobs that they're supposed to create don't exist yet. For the next few years, I think there's going to be an unavoidable bust until organizations restructure work around an AI-driven economy and workers are able to develop the skills needed to step into the roles that eventually emerge. Now, there's certainly an argument to be made that somewhere along the lines of, why didn't we just keep things the way they are so these jobs wouldn't become obsolete, or at the very least, gradually assimilate into AI instead of pumping it into every single company, but I guess that ship has kind of already sailed. The better questions are, what do these new jobs look like, and are they generally more enjoyable than the jobs being displaced? Well, I took a deeper look into the report, and it seems the largest growing jobs will be related to farm workers or other agricultural workers, delivery service drivers, and software and applications developers, while the largest declining jobs are all related to secretaries, security guards, clerks, and cleaners. You can tell me in the comments whether the jobs being created are more desirable than the jobs that are declining, but what might be even more interesting is what types of skills these employers are now looking for. Across all jobs, the core skills employers are looking for both now and 5 years into the future, besides AI and big data skills, which is obvious, are technological literacy and creative thinking. Conversely, sensory processing abilities, manual dexterity, endurance and precision, and reading, writing, and mathematics are going out of focus. I think in a way it's kind of cool that companies are placing less focus on how physically capable you are and more focus on how creative you are and how you can use technology to harness that creativity. I think that opens the door for some really interesting jobs that people genuinely enjoy doing that wouldn't be limited to people who are physically superior. But again, it's really a matter of how quickly companies can do this, because as it stands, many people are losing their jobs and are going to continue losing their jobs. Now, what about AGI, the second type of AI that we started the video with? This is the thing that people who are even vehemently against AI could maybe see some utility in. Robots who could actually function the way we thought robots would in the future, assisting the disabled, taking care of the busy work. How far away is that? Well, based on the admittedly small amount of research I've done, from listening to podcasts to consulting my wife who works in the AI industry, I've concluded that there's some good news and there's some bad news. And I'm going to start with the bad news first, sorry. The bad news is that the term AGI at the moment is more hype than anything. It's something used to describe a hypothetical future, one where machines can generalize knowledge the way humans do by moving fluidly between tasks, adapting, and exercising judgment without being narrowly trained for a single function. Good example of where we're at right now with this kind of power was the reveal of the Neo, which is claiming to be the first full-fledged humanoid robot. In the promotional video, you can see the robot opening the front door for people, doing work around the house, and watering plants outside. But when they showed a live demonstration, it was just a person controlling it remotely in a virtual reality headset. It seems we're still a long ways away from getting anything truly helpful like this over what most of this shit is currently being used for, which is stuff like this.
Sometimes there is no next time, no second chance.
But there is some good news, which is also mostly hypothetical. For this, we can look at the case study of Waymo. Believe it or not, there was actually a period of time where self-driving cars were thought to be pretty unreachable. In the 2010s, companies like Waymo had made early predictions that self-driving cars would be widespread by 2020, leading to rapid obsolescence of human driving. When they were way too optimistic with their predictions, many saw it as proof that we're still decades away from any kind of this stuff. But the companies and Waymo progressed much faster than expected. And now they have the data to prove that they are safer than human drivers. We can only hope that a similar sort of progress will be made with these more advanced AI technologies that are supposed to help us in different sectors of work that will free up more space for enjoyable human work. But that still doesn't really answer the question, when all that work is taken over by AI, what will humans do to generate income? As it stands right now, unless the government somehow drastically changes and regulations are put on AI to prevent it from all the rightful criticisms of its current implementation, like data collection, surveillance, and bias, I believe it's still going to be a net negative to society. Ultimately, the goal of this video was to open up the opportunity for people like you and me to imagine a future where this sort of technology actually manages to do more good than harm for the world, and to challenge our biases so that we can approach this subject with a more nuanced, objective point of view. And hopefully, with that updated point of view, if this technology is truly not going anywhere, we can do something to implement these changes or push for their implementation. Let me know in the comments if we're absolutely cooked and I'm just stupid and wrong, and why. And if you want to watch another one of my AI sort of videos, you can check out my video on the AI bubble, which is going on right now. More information on AI, which I know you guys want to hear about, right? Because it's such positive information. Anyways, yeah, I'm going to go. Goodbye.